day 2, we're going to work on the center post, and it really doesn't matter which side you pick. We're going to mount the amp, and we're going to mount it only because we're using the double lock and we can take it off. We have to do some drilling, and we have to figure out exactly where everything's going, so you have to start it at some point. So I'm going to give it the pointer volume measurement, which is like if I'm carrying it like that. That seems about right. I'm going to use the red marker on the bottom. Now, alcohol pretty much takes off all the marker marks, so you should be alright. Peeling the already double-sided dual lock off can be a hassle, unless you're super good. Now I'm going to just center this on here by eye, because I've done this before. Once you put this stuff down, that tends to be it. I mean, actually, it's Velcro. The Velcro, you can actually pick it up and put it on completely crooked, if you felt like it. So, but just for this initial, I want to make sure you get it as close to actual as possible. And you'll notice with these bananas, there's loops here for putting the wires through before you wire them, and they get real close to the surface. So check yours, or else you have to cut these off with a Dykes. Okay, so now that's been applied. Oh, there is a little bit of play. The Velcro doesn't, it isn't Velcro. There is mechanical grip there. But so now if you want to get it off, there you go. Give those a nice press. Do not damage these, because they are physical pins that are coming up. Kind of like on the back of a processor, you got those little metal pins. Don't mess these up in the same way on either end. They're resilient, but they're not that resilient. If you bash this with a hammer, this stuff will stop working. So you want to line things up. Maybe I'll leave those red lines there. You feel it sort of fall into place, and then love this dual lock. Alright, so now that we know where that's going, the next step, and what this does is also hold the amp up with a little bit of gravity. It helps keep gravity from yanking it off, even though I just showed you it's not going to matter. Is we're going to drill right through that nice little spot there, so that we could put this, I think it's 1/8 inch. The box I got it out of did not have a size, but it doesn't matter. You're going to use whatever you can. And this is going to go through both. I'm going to drill through both bananas, straight into the plastic, and then this will thread through everything. It'll thread through that, thread through this, and thread through that, thread through the board. And then when you lift this up and pull, because these will twist a little bit, they'll have a little bit of play, these will stay right where they're supposed to be, and you can just slot it back in and click it on and be done with it. I'm going to do right in the middle. I don't have a level on this, but and you don't have to go completely through the cutting board if you don't want to. I have to just get it down far enough that this will bite. Oh, starting to see the head there, so we're done. I don't want to garbage. Now I don't know if I want to mount this entirely right now anyway. I may have to make the hole slightly larger for the actual banana side. I don't want to make the hole any larger than 1/8 inch, or the whatever this is going to thread into, because that's what's holding this together. But the bananas are being held in by other means, so it's okay to re-drill those like that. I should have an easier time threading this through now. There we go. Through one, line it up. Through two. She's lined up with the plastic. I mentioned I love my little impact wrench. Freaking love it. Alright. So now we can pop that off. Pops off the bottom. Here you'll see it just swivels, but you're just going to pull it up. Ugh. There it is. Give this one a back spin. I want to work these a little bit so that they sort of, you want them to move a bit. You want these to sort of accept any twisting that the amp goes through when you put it back. The amp's going to go in. You're going to push down. Come on. You're going to line it up. Bottom and top. They both clicked on. Now that really won't go nowhere. Right, now attaching the wires to this, and I'm in a little bit of a planning thinking phase right now, because on my box I have this terminal block on this side of the board. 4 wires come out to here, and then I connect the ends of this through the block, and these hang out the back. And that's good because when you pull this, the tension on the wire is coming through a rounded hole here. If I had this on this side and you pulled this apart, that wire would be just held in by this screw terminal and you might yank it. So there's 2 ways I'm fixing the yanking issue. Putting the terminal block on this side for all the speaker wires and the power, because the power is going to get put to this, and then I have to cut it anyway because it's like 3 feet long, so it's going to go a little run to here. And then the other run's going to come through a hole to the top of the battery, because you have to be able to disconnect this to charge this battery pack. So that means this has to get mounted on this side. And again, because we're using the Daytons and this is so tall, this has tons of room. If you're doing a Micca build with these instructions, keep in mind the speakers are like 2 inches shorter, which makes very little space for this. And if you can't really put it here, you may have to cut this in half or cut it in 4 and 2, and then you got to concern yourself with the left and right. And I really, if you're building it at home, feel free to put this on the bottom, but since I'm doing a mock-up for the units I plan to sell, I want the base plate for the speakers, the one of the speakers, be absolutely blank except for some holes, and every mechanical piece on this. So when you get it, you just simply take this, put it in place, screw it together, and done. I also had the brainstorm of saying, alright, maybe people don't want all these fancy features. You don't want the extended speakers off, you don't want all the stuff detachable, and that would save me a bunch of money, and therefore would save you a bunch of money. Because I would just double stick everything. I'd permanent wire instead of using banana clips. So that would be the Lite version of the speakers. That's one of the names that they came up with. Speakers. Speakers with a Z. So I'm thinking you start with a Z and you end with an S, and then it would have symmetry to it. It would just be the 2 Z's and then speakers. I don't know. Thoughts on BoomBox names in the chat, please. I gotta really get this nice cleaning. It's been abused. So okay. Now, to mount this to the base, I'm going to use 4 screws. I have back there finished screws, very small number 2 head finished screws that are just going to go right through the base. 1, 2, 3, 4. On my box I did 5 because again I didn't know what I was doing, and I think 4 will be plenty. And 4 allows me to drill 3 extra large holes here for passing all the wires back and forth, which is what I'm going to do next. First I'm going to put a piece of tape down here. Actually, I'll remove this. I'll remove this. That stuff really works. Slide it out. Leave those in place. Those are sort of telling me where I'm ending anyway. And now I'm going to put some tape down, measure some things where I want the screws to end up, and then I'll pop some holes through. Alright, what I've got laid out here are, these are the two holes that would match up, because these are, well, they're mirrored in different directions, so that doesn't work, so you got to turn them like this, and then they obsessively match. And I've designed it so that on the back side, where these are coming out, they'll enter like this. So you'll pull the speaker out, and when you go to rest it, instead of it coming to the top, it'll just boom, it'll rest on the top, and this will just hit, and this wire will come out and go to the speaker. Again, your own design will probably work, but this is where these measure out. But I have to drill the two holes for these wires, which is not very big. I'm going to assume a 1/4 inch is going to work. And then on the back, you just have to ream it so that there's not a sharp edge there, so that when the wire gets tugged, when you pull it, it's literally, you're going to be tugging the wire against whatever that surface is. So I'm going to drill probably a 1/4 inch hole, then get my 1/2 inch bit out, and just get the flail on that, and then I'll rub some sandpaper on it for good luck. This way there's no sharp edges that wire is getting tugged against. And as for this, I'm going to put this dead center. Anywhere along here will work fine. Because the wires are going to come in and I want them to be equidistant, so that I don't have one that's got like that much pulled out and one that's only got like this much pulled out, and then they're different on the other end, and then I got to compensate for that. I'd rather leave as much length in these as possible, because I could literally cut them down to be only that long, and this would still serve a purpose as to spread the damn boombox out. But I want full 6 foot apart, or at least 5 foot apart reach. So, what is our first step? Let's do the 1/4 inch holes. Or a nice drill bit. Is 1/4 inch too big? Always pull from both. I'm going to leave a little one. Is important, pull from both ends, and it is important you do that. 1/4 inch is fine. You'll notice all my tools are Bosch, and the reason for that is I think everyone has to pick their own brand. My father used nothing but Makita, and my brother, he started grabbing tools way before I did, and he decided to go Milwaukee. So now everything he has is Milwaukee. And one day I said, you know what? Germans, man, Germans. And I went Bosch. So I'm committed now. By the way, there's a waste piece of wood underneath there, so that when that happens, you're not drilling into your table. And trust me, under all this stuff, this table has lots of screw-ups. How nice and easy that drills. Let your cat get those. For some reason, cats love to chew and eat those. They are cool, I guess. Alright, so now that's our 2 holes, and I could ream them now too with the Mega Bit. Actually, the problem with this drill bit set, this Bosch bit set, I didn't need to buy a Bosch drill set, but it came on sale, is that they're so goddamn sharp. Doing what I'm about to attempt to do, see, I have this set. This is an old Rodman set. This is for like going through concrete, so it's not really good at plastic. Because it's not really good at plastic, it doesn't screw up like it's about to. It literally wants to rip through the entire piece. Jesus Christ. Way too aggressive a bit. Way too aggressive. Alright, let's try the other one. This one should just go, "Buh, I don't want to run. I don't want to cut you." Yeah, this one does not want to make go. There you go. And I'm making a mess. Vacuums are for messes. Alright. I gotta get in there with some sandpaper. because there's still a rough edge there. But nothing on this side, so that's good. As far as the hole for passing through, so now that that's taken care of, the only thing that's got to come through here now, great, see? This is what happens. Where's my can of air? That's what happens when you do things out of order. I got a little bit of cardboard stuck in between these little plastic trees designed to hold up 1,000,000 pounds. I'm not editing this out because this could happen to you. So be mindful that this is still Velcro-ish, and if you put it down on something like loose pieces of MDF, it's going to grab that. Alright, obsessing over that. We'll obsess later. So the hole through here. So this is going to get mounted here. That means the hole for power and for line, because what I've decided to go with, instead of giving you with the kit an RCA to 3.5mm, I found this essentially better looking than this. This is a crap old one that is male RCAs and then a female 3.5mm, and I'm going to let you decide if you want to put, let's say, one of these coiled 3.5mm extensions on it. I actually just got today, and I'm going to test it, it's still at home, a Bluetooth adapter, so that you could just, it'll literally just plug into the end of this, and I'll have a place for it to Velcro on, and you could have this entire boombox be Bluetooth enabled, which I think is super cool, even though I hate Bluetooth because it's so compression based. But, you know, boombox, right? When you set up your $2,000 stereo and you say, I want Bluetooth connectivity, I wince. If you're going to set this up at the beach, I'm not super concerned about the compression of the Bluetooth. I'm a realist. Oh, one more thing. I did have to cut off that piece down there because in order to take the amp off properly, this had to tilt, this red one. And it was hitting and it couldn't do it. So now it's much easier to come on and off because now the entire banana plug can flex on the hole. So next step is I'm going to drill a hole for power and source. Probably going to be a big 1/2 inch because I need to be able to get a connector through like that size. So, wrong thing. Now I got some 16 gauge 4 conductor. Now, it doesn't need to be this thick, I just happen to have it. And the only reason I'm using it is because it's 4 colors and it makes my life a lot easier remembering this stuff. So I'm going to add these full length, probably 4.5 inch wires to the banana plugs now. I just got to make sure that I understand which side is which, positive or negative on this. There is an indicated, there's either lettering or ribs to identify this wire. I'm probably going to go with the lettering as positive. So I have to decide which one of these is left and right so that I can get everything to line up when I put it in there. So it's going to always be, wait, is that backwards? Yeah, that's not it. Where is that? There you go. You can't twist this around. Alright, so now it's right side is positive. So when I come to the terminal block, which I mounted here, everything will line up. So the way I like to do this, since this takes both positives and both negatives as single blocks, which is very rare, and the only time that these colored bananas actually come in handy, I like red and white for positive, and of course black and green for ground. And the pairs are red and black, white and green. So for the right channel, which is on the right side, it's all backwards in my head because you're looking at the amp forward, sits there, here's the right side, here's the right side's wiring. So I'm looking at it from the bottom perspective now, and this goes down like that. So red right here. Wow, I have too much stuff on the desk. Perfect vision's fucking it up. Alright, we're going to just unscrew these, and I should have stripped those wires because that's a waste of video time. But oh well. There's a whole video on stripping wires and how to use them. I'm not going to tin these before I do that wire strippers. Alright, let me get my wire strippers, and then we'll, alright. I not only got my wire strippers, but I magically stripped the wires really fast. So, red, right, positive. You have to now decide if you want the wires to come out from the back side, or come up from the middle and be between the two bananas, which is what I did on mine, so I'll do that on this too. You're going to insert, it'll go straight through, you're going to back it up. You could actually let it stay through for a second until you start feeling it. Just going to push that tip down. Just like you're killing a mouse. Nice and tight. You don't want that coming out. Not ever. So, there's my hot. Here's my other hot. Same principle. Through. Line it up. Get it going. Get it just down far enough. Less screaming rodents this time. Okay. There's two. Put those right there. Now the other two, we're doing wired block up, which means this is this side that we're dealing with. So red and black. That's where the black goes. Two. Push it in. You can see it visually. Well, you can't see it, I can see it. Making sure it's biting on the actual copper and not the insulation. Get it all set up. Push it down. Perfect. Perfection. So now we have this all set up. So now these wires will get, once it's got mounted again, it'll get looped, and I'll either put them through the top or through the bottom, probably through the top. There's plenty of room to wiggle and move. Since these banana plugs are not going anywhere, you could just wrap them around like this. And then we use, the reason there's 6 here is 2 are going to be for power, but I'm going to use the 2 in the middle for power because we're coming through this hole. This hole is going to be power pass through from the battery and this pass through. So I'm going to put this through first, then run the wires through, because it is only a 1/2 inch hole and it's going to be pretty tight to get this past something else. It could make the hole bigger. I didn't want to have to take out the 1-inch Forstner. Well, I could have. Actually, hell, the way I've designed it with the 4 screws, which is 3/8 over, 3/8 over, then 1 inch and 1 inch. It leaves a pretty big space here, but that's not even a problem. As you could actually just cut out a an entire half circle. You could just take a little bridge through the river, quai or cock, whatever the copier did. So next step is going to be cutting this down and getting these all together, which is going to be real hard to... Here, I'll remove this, because I do not need it fully mounted. It'll be way harder to do if everything was mounted. So we'll just put this back together. Remember those red lines we didn't get rid of? Aren't we glad? What a click. Yep, that's in. So now we have, what did we talk about with this? Of course, they're coming through the top, they're coming through on the inside of it. Right? Well, yes. There's a certain way these go. There, they match up like that. Yeah, coming through on the inside of it. Hot on the right, and this is also hot on the right. So it really doesn't matter, because it's going to come in and just loop up into that. So I'm going to make it hot on the right anyway. Hot on the right and then hot on the left. So I'll try to give myself plenty of room to bend these back. Where's my nice wire cutters? I'm going to cut right there. It's actually probably enough to do another set. Just that little bit. It would just be a pain to work with. Okay, so now amp off again. It's actually getting a little easier to take off, which isn't a bad thing. All right. Do the red one first. I'm going to strip these, open these up, and then just get them screwed right down into their terminal block. Oh, music. Stop the music. This has to work on mobile. Alright, so I've got everything here in its terminal block. Hot's on the outside, ground's on the inside. And I'm going to put this back in, but in order to do that properly, I'm going to redo this step. In. The stiff wires. Go feel them. Yeah, I'll try to get better wires for when I redo this. Where's my hole? Not a good question to ask. Because now I'm lining it up perfectly. Bam. Bam! I love that sound. Whoop. Make sure you hit that second hole. She said. With a posed look. Come on. A little touch. Alright. Now I'm definitely hitting the plastic. Doesn't have to be twisted in any sort of way. That's not bad. I just need a little more pressure so that she doesn't spin up. Because now we're going through 3 different items, and that can be... There you go. Nope, I can't see it there, then it can go a little more. There it goes. I can see just there. Alright. 1, 2. They bend out just enough to let you remove the amplifier. The wires, the stiff wires, hold them in place. And all this will be hidden behind that vanity cover anyway. So, this aspect of it's done. Let's move on to power. Now, like I said, this comes with this wire, which is just the same end. One end to the amp, one end to the battery, but this is ridiculously long. So what's going to happen is, this is going to get left here. Which I could put this all back. It's a very slutty, whoever's winning this on my subreddit, it's getting a very slutty one. This is going to go in, and now I'm going to cut this apart. Probably, I don't want to leave like too short a run, but like that. Just like that. Happy little tree. Here comes the happy little tree. I could always cut it shorter. You can't cut it longer. So make sure when you cut it, you're happy at the length you're cutting it. I'll give this a little bit of a strip. Which is what I got arrested for in Tucson. These are very small conductor. Let me cut a little more off. So, my concern now is that this won't grab it. So what I'm going to end up doing is stripping it, folding it over the insulation, and then screwing it down. And since I now have these in the way, that's going to be a trip. Should have probably done those first. Alright. Well, if I'm going to screw up, I'm going to screw up on video. God, how small. These are very, very light gauge. Very, very light gauge. Bigger than 24? Yeah. 22 gauge. That's not bad. Fold them back. You don't have to be super neat about it. You want them to sort of fray out so that when you crush down on it, she holds. Positive and negative shouldn't matter in this instance as long as you can see it. The amplifier can go again. Amplifier can... Ugh. Do, 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 do. Never had one lesson. Ferris Bueller line. Wow, this is a pain in the ass. I'm going to make this easier for myself. No, I can't. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Do this first, people. People watching this as a tutorial. Hopefully you watched ahead. Oh, hot's in. Hot's in. Now I just gotta get the ground in, which is, I think, just the overall shortness of what I did. Oh. This is like surgery. This is like brain surgery. I'm sure I'm gonna watch this video, proofing it before I upload it, and I'm gonna say, God, why didn't I just do bleh? You know, bleh would have solved all my problems there. Actually, you can see through the other side of the terminal. Sorry about banging the camera. Oh, good, it's in. I don't know if it's working when I turn it on and it doesn't work. Now, thoughts. Here's my thought. I went out and bought a bunch of these. These are male, female 12 volt with little screw terminals. Now, I didn't buy them to avoid using this. Using that is fine here. Actually, you remember those wire things? I didn't know what I was going to use them for. I might use them right here. Screw that sucker down. Just bam. Keep any tension getting yanked on that. Don't want those getting pulled out. So that's one use for that. But I bought these, getting back on topic, for safeties. So that if you're pulling the speaker up and pulling it away, if you just have a retard fit and go, blah, hodor, and you just yank, this should pull apart. So what's going to happen is this female end will come off the amplifier so that you can't really screw up. I mean, although either one's going to suck. And then this will be hanging off the speaker. So these will just be plugged together and it's connected. And if you ever want to take the speakers off and use them somewhere else, you would just disconnect that and use your speakers somewhere else. I also considered they sell for $1 a piece little plug versions of this that you'd actually mount into something. So I could actually have this in the speaker. I'd have to pull its drivers out of the speaker, wire up internally to the crossover. In the case of the Miccas, in the Daytons, it's just wire into the terminals, and then you'd be able to plug from the back of this. So here's the back of the amp. You'd actually be able to plug straight into the side of the speaker box, and that would give you power to the speaker. Nothing in the back, and that would be really cool. And that would raise the price of things, because as soon as I have to start opening up the speaker, I know I'm going to start reinforcing things, and that's expensive. But for now, that's what these are for. And I also figured, if I want to get super badass, I'm not sure how it's going to work with the battery yet, I'm going to have to run some tests, I will mount one of these outside. So now it'll come this lead to the terminal block to this, and then this up to the battery pack. And what that'll do is it'll allow you to take this nice 3 amp thing that they give you, and if you're home, you could, let me make sure this actually fits in here, because I'm not sure. It does fit. Plug this in, and what that should do is let you charge the battery and run the amp completely off of 110, off of the power in the wall. I'm not 100% sure that's going to work properly. I'll talk to my IT guy, who just happens to be named IT Man, about how damaging that could be for either the battery or the amp. Because this battery has a special charger with a light that turns orange to green, but it might just be an indicator light showing that this is charging. So having this is just going to be like an intercept between the two, and you should be able to plug in your own thing. So I'm going to wire it up like that, because I've got a month before I give this thing away, and I will find out if that works. If that works, well, that's like 3.5 birds in one stone. Tons of birds. All these birds are just dead. I just murdered a bunch of birds. So for now, we're almost done with the face of this. I'm getting the RCA to 3.5mm, which should be slightly shorter than this. That's going to just pass through. So you're going to have, this is this side. Ignore that. This is this side. The other side is going to have just a 3.5mm as your input, and then you're going to decide what you plug into that if you want to get a little adapter. The actual Bluetooth, if I sell it to you with a Bluetooth, the Bluetooth has a male-to-male adapter, because the Bluetooth receiver has only the input, and you can plug that all together. And then you could just get you know, a super short, super long, get another 3.5mm RCA, and then you can plug that in here. Then you could actually source this through RCA without uncovering the entire front of this and plugging your own in. It's the best step. It's the most logical step, and I don't care if it costs more. I care if it's the best step. I'm not making boomboxes so I could make a ton of money. I'm making boomboxes because I want it to be the best boombox. That's my MO. I just want to prove that everyone else is doing it wrong, and I can do it right. And let's cut it for tonight. We've actually taken like 40 minutes of video just to accomplish that. So hope you appreciate my non-editing skills. Battery I'm not mounting yet, simply because I don't want to be banging around the other end of the dual lock all over things. I'm going to be waiting for... What am I waiting for? Power. I could cut the other end of the power. See, once I have the battery mounted, figured out where it's going to mount it, then this is going to come up. Probably which side is this on? Hold on. Yeah, so this is going here. This doesn't have to be accessible from the handle, although it could be. What this is going to do is hang out. I wish they came with... I wish I can get a right angle one of these that was super cheap, because that would look better. But it's going to come out like this. I'm going to mount it down the side like that. Because you're going to have to pull this out to charge it, unless my system works, and then I don't have to have this come out ever. But you still need to activate it on and off. And then it's just going to come down here, and you'll have 1, 2, battery, source, all in the back. I don't think I'm putting a cover here, because then I have to deal with these things. All right, next time. Lots to think about.